they had their meeting and they were planning to frame me, somebody had called and left me a voicemail, and either inadvertently or deliberately, the voicemail was left open. And then we could hear, them planning to frame me and all this kind of stuff. So, but that's not the same as, like, right now, like, you called me up, I want it to be heard, so, the audio quality should be a lot better than if, some other way we're getting that, audio.
Can you speak into the mic?
Yes, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Oh, great. Okay, so I'm going to change this to speaker, and I'm going to play this, but it will be on speaker, so I'll be able to hear you. I should be able to hear you if you tell me that it's just you're not able to hear it. Otherwise, I'll let it play through this section. So this is that witness that was the patient advocate at my mother's and stepfather's office. But even the person believed to be my mother told me words that even out of her own mouth let me know that now that indicates it's a front. She was saying, she's not really in charge. She's not really the person in charge. And I couldn't imagine who she'd be talking about, because she was not speaking about, like, office management, administrative, that kind of thing. So, it was like more puzzle pieces, because she wouldn't really elaborate. She didn't, like, spell it all out for me, but people would sometimes make a comment here.
I need you to speak into the mic.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, people would sometimes make, a comment here, a comment there, including the people, at the center of doing some of these things, and even sometimes directly to you, not just around you, that you might overhear. And so that's a comment she made to me, and it was very haunting. I could tell she was haunted by it. And, and now I am finding out more where I understand better, that I think people end up in those situations. It's not necessarily black and white, how they got there. And in fact, everybody that I know enough about them to know that they are what you would call a participant in the organized predation. They weren't born just like that. They had things done to them, harsh abuses and so forth, and other systematic means of washing out the brainwashing, washing out the personality, the human personality they were born with, and putting something else in there for these people to control. So I don't hate them. I have a understanding and compassion, but you can't underestimate their treachery. And I guess it does remind me one more thing factually I wanted to put forward to make sure people are aware of. So when the extent to which they go to cover up, keep these things secret, U.S. Congressman Leo Ryan went, and with his then aide, now U.S. Congresswoman from California, Jackie Spear, and they were investigating, if the people were really all right, or what was going on, because people, the family members and so forth were concerned, what was being done to these people there at Jonestown. And so before he could, and the journalists accompanying him and so forth could come back, that's when suddenly all these people were massacred in the Jonestown massacre. So many people were poisoned with that flavor aid that they believed that doctor was the primary doctor coming up with what to put in the flavor aid to kill the people. That doctor that went through the same university medical school that my parents went through, and what have you. And Congressman Ryan was murdered in that at the airstrip. He was at the airstrip. He had made it to the airstrip, but they didn't let him get, out of the airstrip to come back to the States. Now U.S. Congresswoman Jackie Spear was shot several times. It was literally at least 5 or 6. I remember reading that. I meant to double check the exact number, but 5 or 6 times. It was more than 4. And so they intended to leave her for dead, but by the grace of God, she was able to be recovered, and she's a beautiful, high-functioning woman now. I'm hoping she might, have some extra insight and be able to help with this, but I don't know. I've been focused right now on representatives for my own state, because I'm in New York. I've never been a constituent of California. So I don't know if really, I know generally when sometimes I've reached out to offices where some of the government representatives are more interested in non-consensual human experimentation, things like that, trying to help secure patient rights. Unfortunately, they're from other states. And when I do an initial try to reach them, I get like an automated response, and notices about, if you're not constituent, you won't be responded to. So, but some people have suggested to me to try to, get some communication to Congresswoman Spear anyhow, or maybe people listening, if they're in California, they could reach out to her.
I do personally, actually, after the show, I will try and facilitate a contact on the Board of Mental Health there in California.
Okay.
For you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to play. This is the file where the patient advocate came forward and said what he knows. And I apologize for my condition. When I did that file, I was being heavily drugged, and I've always been actually the worst dosed when I'm in reach of my parents. So, but I was struggling through, and I was also shocked by what he was saying to me, and I was really like terrorized by what I was hearing. But so I don't think I was the best interviewer at the time, but he was able, he said what he had heard. So I'm going to play that. Sorry, I forgot to switch this to speaker. Hold on. Speaker. Okay, I should catch it. That you heard about anything to do with that New York District Attorney's Office investigator, Mike Woodthorpe.
Okay. Well, my information comes from what was spoken about at the and
wait, that wasn't very easy to hear. Spoken about by
Chuck and Liz.
Okay, so you're talking about Dr. Charles Michael McIntyre.
Yes.
And
Elizabeth.
Dr. Marilyn Lockman.
Yes.
Okay.
At their office, and they said that they got a call from an assistant district attorney, or I believe that would be. No? It was somebody who was a head investigator.
Okay, hold on. Those are different. Now, I don't want to tell you which one I understand is B, but I'm going to clarify for you what the different job titles are. Assistant district attorney is an attorney.
Okay.
And basically all the attorneys there, except for the head district attorney, who's generally like a very political office, he doesn't necessarily go into courts for the cases directly so much, but the assistant district attorneys are the ones that we see going into court prosecuting cases, and then there's investigators that investigate the criminal complaints.
This would be an investigator.
Okay.
Then. And I learned from Dr. McIntyre or Dr. Lockman that these people, the investigator at New York, said that he was getting so much incoming, not faxes, but emails about things that were going around on in Sahara's life. Basically, they were blocking up, the messages were blocking up the machines, and they couldn't, there's so many of them that they couldn't even get their mail through, or if they had an emergency, they couldn't read them.
Okay, hold on. Do you know if he was referring to emails only from me, or if he might have been referring to getting contacted by any other parties? No,
he was talking to Dr. McIntyre or Dr. Lockman at this time, and he made a specific call to them.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, was he complaining about messages that I was sending?
Yes.
Because a reason I ask this is a reason I'm asking for the distinction is I basically was making the point to not, to try to be, even though I get harassed on a regular, daily plus basis, multiple times a day, I was trying, like every time I go out, going to someplace, coming back from someplace, I experience organized stalking by vehicle when I'm driving, etc. But I was trying to just do a weekly update once a week, for the weekend, end of the week usually, to send to the government officials, etc.
This was earlier in the time that you had gone to New York.
Okay, but what I'm saying...
And it was just after you'd gotten there for a few weeks, I think, that the calls were coming in. And
okay, but
they were coming in every night is what they explained.
So this was my
They're
question.
inaccurate then.
Well, not necessarily. What I'm asking, what I'm trying to make sure of to understand, could he have been referring, from what you understood, what you heard, could he possibly have been referring to getting calls from other people, for example, U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee people or something about me or the New York Governor's office?
These were yours.
He's complaining about claiming that he's getting daily emails from me.
Yeah. Okay. And at night, and in the morning they come in and they can't read their mail.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
So that's what he said, and he said he'd have to have you put away or something, and Chuck said he would talk to you about it. And after that, I heard no more about it. And you didn't seem to have any problem with it. And I think it went away as far as...
No one ever told me anything like this. Not Mr. Wigdor, the investigator, nor my stepfather, nor my mother. Nor anybody else.
No.
Previous to me hearing this right now from you.
Well, it just all of a sudden disappeared. So I figured, somebody had found a solution, or, like you were going once a week, and or they couldn't prove what they were saying, or I don't know what went on between the three of them. But I know that the man was threatening, and then your parents were saying something else to him, that they'd have it stopped. But I think it stopped on its own if it ever began.
Do you know if they indicated how they would have me stop sending any emails to Mr. Wigdor, that Mr. Wigdor
said that he probably would have to have you confined in a hospital.
Like what kind of hospital?
Probably a mental hospital.
Were you able to hear that?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Wow. And who is this gentleman that's speaking in the recording?
Yeah, his name is Eugene Herr. He gave me permission. He actually since then, let's see if I can pull up the... let's see. It's not letting me see stuff very well right now in this format. Oh, wait, I think I can find it from here. Because I know where I can find it from. Bear with me 1 second. I pulled it up in the video section, but it just opened the full screen without showing me the date of the posting, because I posted it right away. Let's see. So... January 12th, 2018, in the morning is when I posted my summary of that. So, let's see, that, depending on time zone, would show up as January 12th also, or it might have been from before midnight, so January 11th. So in that area, January 11th to January 12th, 2018, that's when it was posted. It was posted within 24 hours of when it was recorded, and actually, the time date stamp was shown in the video. I showed.
Who's the man in the video?
Oh, yeah. And his name is Eugene Herr, and he was the patient advocate, a volunteer patient advocate at my mother's and stepfather's office, or what we're finding out, I guess, front office for, black budget, mind control operations stuff, what have you. And then he'd heard some things going on like that, and he was feeling very uncomfortable, and he wasn't even being paid, and he was doing a good job. I mean, he's genuinely concerned for the patients, but he suddenly got dismissed, not allowed to be at the office, and he was certainly not in that capacity, any capacity where he could hear anything that they might be up to or anything like that. So, yeah.
Wow. I'm just blown away. This information and much, much more documentation can be found on your Facebook website. Just share really quickly, as well as Sahar. You're in New York, and I know you're struggling right now with the gang stalking and the being targeted and so forth. How can people that want to reach out to you and help you, how can they contact you? As well as look up your information and document